Good morning, everybody that's on here. And good morning, Tom. Nice to see you, man.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome. Tony, Craig, how's everybody doing?
Good. Good morning.
Morning, guys. Awesome. I'm going to get going here. I know we've got a couple others getting ready to join on. I heard a funny thing the other day that, hey, it's been 48 hours since another Florida home carrier has gone out of business. So that's a good sign. So that's a little Florida humor here for you, Tom. If you're,
There you go.
If you're tracking at home here. All right. All right. I'm going to share my screen here in a second and then get rocking and rolling here. So I've got some good stuff to share today. I'm excited to kind of share some of these things today. We're going to go through. I was working on this last night, kind of putting this together. A lot of what we're going to talk today, I'm going through a book called $1 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. So who here knows Brian Tracy? Anybody heard of Brian Tracy from me or from anywhere else? Or I know Amy Young's a fan of Brian Tracy. So Brian Tracy, real famous sales trainer, kind of thought leader, a little bit of an older guy now, but his stuff's it's just awesome. So I thought that would be a good thing for us to go over if I can pull my own email here. And so we'll go through some $1 Million Habits here and kind of how that ties into insurance. Let me stop sharing my screen. While I'm pulling this up here, why don't we go around real quick and tell me something good that's going on. I don't want to hear all the troubles, all the woes, all the bad, but give me something good. We'll start with that. Tony, how about you? Lead us off, buddy. Give us something good.
The good news is this is the look of Tony after having not been to sleep yet. But Matt Bowser's stuff is just about done.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. Okay, good. So Matt Bowser's stuff is just about done. Awesome. Okay. Craig, how about you, buddy? Something good going on?
Oh boy. I was not
Don't have to
expecting
dig that hard.
Yeah, sometimes you do. Sheesh. Yeah, I don't know. Does it have to be insurance related?
Yes, it does.
Boy.
All right, we're skipping Craig for now. JJ, tell me something good going on. Give me one thing. Come on, for some of the new people on here, guys, we gotta liven it up here a little bit.
All right, so one good thing is we got some good reports on the homeowners market that several of the carriers are keeping the Demotech rating, which is awesome.
There you go.
Because it still gives us opportunity, and we're still getting calls from people that their agents are snoozing on the job and not taking care of the issues that they're seeing. So we're building more business.
Love it. So you've heard me say, guys, a lot in the past, where there's change, there's opportunity, right? So we can look and say, hey, the homeowners market in Florida, extremely challenging, which no doubt it is, but also a great opportunity for us to help other clients that aren't getting the service or attention that we're providing and pick up business. So Tom, how about you? Give me something good that's going on. Just one thing.
Just one thing.
And I'll let you go outside of insurance since you're new to our group here, Tom.
That's okay.
If you need to. The life of the
Florida, I know the area where
it's a lonely, hard road. So
I know the area where I'm at. They're building houses on every corner. So that means everybody needs homeowners insurance.
There you go. Lots of opportunity. Okay. Bill, we're just going around. One good thing that's going on. Give me one good thing. I know you probably got a couple.
Well, I'd say I'm here in your office, and your people your whole team has been remarkably and wonderfully receptive, and we're going to figure out ways to write a lot of executive management liability.
Love it.
business.
Love it. Well, and it's been great having you guys in. And for those of you that are new on the call or weren't on the call yesterday, Bill Holden, the fine young gentleman that just spoke, is in from California. He is the Senior Vice President of Executive Perils, which is a very fancy title. I mean, that sounds good. Trust me. But Bill, great guy, really knows his stuff. So huge asset and resource for our team here. He's helping the whole company. But if you have cyber directors and officers, miscellaneous professional liability, by the way. And guys, we do a fair amount of that. EPLI, any of these things. This is really Bill's wheelhouse. And, you know, I'm not just saying this to blow smoke at Bill, but I've worked with him on a few cases. Great follow-up, great communication, really knows his stuff. Servant leader's heart. Highly recommend you reach out if you've got cases or need help. Again, I would kind of tier it, probably cases that are maybe 5,000 to 10,000 in premium above. The smaller stuff, you know, probably easier to handle just in-house. But on some of those bigger ones, and we certainly come across those, also keep in mind, working directly with Bill will achieve higher commissions. You know, through Bill's relationships, we've got, you know, just some great direct opportunities where we can really cut out wholesalers and get, you know, better commissions, and then also less friction, as we kind of talked about yesterday. So Bill, if you maybe even want to throw your email in the chat for everyone, just so everybody's got that, or that'd be great, so that everyone's got your contact info on the call. So
Absolutely.
and then we record this and we push it out to other members of our team as well. So
I'm not sure how I do that.
good point.
Oh, got it. Here we
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
I see
Just,
it.
you can just put that in the chat. So awesome. All right. So again, kind of hopping in today, we like to start every meeting and kind of go through a motivational moment. I think I shared with you guys, we're really going to go through some of Brian Tracy's $1 Million Habits. So I thought this was a great quote to kind of get us started. Brian Tracy says, everything that you ever are or will be is up to you. And the only real limit on what you can do, be, and have is the limit you place on your own imagination. You can take complete control of your destiny by taking complete control of your thoughts, words, and actions from this day forward. Right. So, you know, this is going to be a training, guys. Today, we're not going to dive as deep in insurance. Frankly, I think this is where we need to be. Mindset's so important in what we do in sales and in life, right? We talk about everything starts with a thought, and that's kind of what Brian's starting with right there. I'm also going to add in one bonus because of the time of year it is. So who here, probably other than Bill and Craig, I'm going to exclude the two of you, other than Bill and Craig, knows who John Wooden is? Who can tell me who John Wooden is? Anybody? JJ Stevens, circle gets the square. Who's John Wooden?
So I can't tell you what team he coached for, but he's probably one of the biggest winning coaches in college history. Not to mention just pretty doggone decent guy.
Well put. You know, I will give you full credit for that. So John Wooden is, you know, he's been deceased a few years, but he lived, I think, until like his late 90s. I believe, and Bill Holden could probably correct me if I'm wrong, I think he won 10 NCAA championships and
Yep.
perhaps in a row. Were they all in a row or no?
No, there were a couple intermittent.
Or a
other
couple
winners
intermittent. So
with UCLA, he coached.
there you go. So with
Lou
UCLA,
Alcindor.
Bill Walton was a big star. And again, this is going back ways. We're probably talking what 70s, 80s timeframe. But here's the takeaway, right? And here's where this ties in. March Madness. We just kind of got through March Madness. John Wooden winning as coach, you know, most championships of all times. Great thought leader, great leader in general. And there's lots of transferable principles between sports and business, right? I love sports, love business. So that's why I'm sharing some of this. So I thought this was good. I listened to this the other day. And by the way, I know several of you on the call know the name John Maxwell, and like John Maxwell, who I'm a big fan of, again, leadership, training, you know, great thought leader in that space, who's still alive to this day. John Maxwell, one of his biggest influences on him and mentors to him was John Wooden. So if you kind of dig into John Maxwell's history, John Wooden was a great mentor to him. So I thought this was good. This was something that I heard on a John Maxwell podcast shared by John Wooden. Again, one of the winningest NCAA coaches of all times, UCLA Bruins. His motivational creed. This was something John Wooden literally repeated to himself every day. And it was, again, this is like legacy here. It was taught to him by his father. So I thought this was good. It said, be true to yourself, make each day your masterpiece, help others, drink from good books, make friendship a fine art, pray for guidance and give thanks, build shelter against a rainy day, and give thanks to others for your blessings, right? So again, just sort of unpacking from a motivational moment standpoint, you've got John Wooden's sort of motivational creed that he read to himself every day. I also put that in the follow-up to our notes. So I thought that was a good one to share. So kind of jumping in here a little bit more diving deeper on the $1 Million Habit. So, and I'm going to send this out at the end. I'll certainly share. I've got the Audible I've been listening to, which is excellent. I also found a cool thing called summaries.com, which does a lot of book summaries that I pulled some of this from notes from last night. So I will share that as well. You're going to hear a lot about thoughts, right? And again, I would encourage you, this is not group counseling right now for Tom Wheeler, who I know is new, and Bill Holden. So, this isn't Dr. Phil, but I would just encourage us all, we think about it, everything starts with a thought, and our thoughts aren't always positive, right? Have you ever just been going throughout your day? We've talked about this and it's like, oh my goodness, where did that thought come from? Right? We all experience that. And again, really where I'm tying this to and why I think this is such an important thing for us right now, especially in Florida, is we've got to be able to put ourselves in a great mindset and frame of mind to really go out and excel. We're in a tough industry, by the way, in a tough state, by the way. So it's very easy. You're not going to find me being the, crying in my beard type thing of, oh, the sky is falling, life's so hard, right? There's plenty of other agencies you can go do that and sit around the water cooler all day and complain about how hard everything is, right? I'm going to encourage you guys and challenge you guys to go higher, dig deeper, be better, and hopefully give you some skills and some ideas to say, here's some ways to do it, right? And a lot of this stuff in for me, it's just me passing on info to you. So, he really says, here's the main idea. He says there's a direct correlation between your habits that you choose and the results you achieve in all areas in your life. And again, I want to try and make some of this conversation. Would you all agree with that, right? Like direct correlation between my habits and kind of the results I get in life? Yes, no, maybe so, right?
Sure.
Pretty true. So, and again, some of you on this team have phenomenal habits, like Kayla Lamb, Amy Young, like you guys are rock stars with exercise and working out, all of that. Like that didn't just happen. You had to build that habit, right? Kayla, tell us real quick your workouts. Like give us a look in the life of Kayla Lamb's workout for the week. And for, again, Bill and Tom, hang tight. So Kayla,
I get asked every day, like even this morning, when someone's like, how long are you here? Because I do spin classes. So that's like an hour. Today was 5:45 spin. And then I lift, and I just am going now once a day, not twice. So I'm doing everything all
Kayla, we need to talk. Your habits are slipping, girl. You're not going to the gym
I'm
twice a
like
day, 2 days.
3.5 hours still. I'm just not
3.5 hours. Look at that.
Yeah.
Love it. So you're in the gym almost 3.5 hours a day. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting at 5.
So for those of you who struggle to get up off the couch to get your next beer, that may be a pretty high bar. I'm also going to go out on a limb, because I know, Kayla, it didn't start out 3.5 hours a day, right? If we go back to whenever you started these habits. But what a great example. Wow, 3.5 hours in the day. Now, what does that say? She really cares about her health. She cares about exercise, all that. Amy Young, again, you're another rock star. Tell us kind of your morning routine. Just hear your morning, because you're up at like 3 a.m. The Army's been asleep for 2 hours by the time you're up. So that says something. You're on mute, Amy. You're not on mute? Tony, any idea? Okay. All right. Well,
She is on mute or not.
there
On
you go.
mute.
Now try now. No? No, geez. Technology is great. Amy, maybe call in. Maybe you can call in. I don't know. Maybe it's something with your computer. It doesn't show mute. But anyways, some really, really good habits, right? And again, I could go around here. I mean, Tony is probably one of the hardest workers. Like Tony literally just said he's been up all night, right? And I'm assuming some of that was work related, right? Is that safe to say, Tony?
All of it was work related.
All of it was work related, right? So and again, what I would encourage you to think about is this: wherever you're at in your career, in your life, and we're all on different journeys, different stages. You look at the highest performers in any area: business, sports, finance, politics. They have excellent habits. They're extremely determined. Right. I mean, we could pull out all sorts of things, but those are just real 2 of them. Right. So again, kind of this correlation between habits and your results and where you're at. So, he kind of goes on, he says, take control of your destiny, change the results you're realizing by deliberately choosing different habits. Right. If I want to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym 3.5 hours a day, but I want to lose weight and get a little healthier. Maybe I start and say, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week and I'm just going to walk for 15 minutes on the treadmill, right? Or again, if we even make it be, sort of an easier step than that, saying, I want to start trying to work on my health. I'm going to pick 3 days a week and I'm just going to walk around the block for 15 minutes, right? So I'd also encourage you guys on that, just thinking about where you're at. Again, if we really drill this into our sales and what we're trying to do is, what are those next immediate steps that you can start to put together to create the habits that are going to create the results that you want. Okay. He also kind of says many people get the principle backwards, right? He says they try to change the results by achieving at point B instead of where they should be attempting better choices at point A. Okay. He then goes on and unpacks it a little bit. He says, put this principle another way. If you concentrate on making better decisions, right? I think that's a very key word there, making better decisions, you'll automatically develop better habits of successful people. That's going to lead to health, happiness, true prosperity, right? Again, easy to go grab the next beer, easy to go, you fill in the blank, get the next Oreo cookie, get the whatever, right? It's that decision to say, okay, what am I going to do in that moment to do something different? Okay. So he goes on and he talks about, and he says, well, how do we form better habits? So we're talking a lot about habits. Again, we're tying this in and saying these are, $1 million habits, the idea that, hey, anyone out there in America, we are the land of opportunity, can become a millionaire. Tremendous opportunity, certainly in our industry, in our business, no ceiling on what we can achieve here, guys. Saying, how are we starting to form those better habits? So he then unpacks and he says, well, understand the power and the necessity, number one, of habits. So there's a lot of people, they just go about life and they're not thinking at all. There's no planning. There's no thought. It's like Groundhog Day. Who remembers Groundhog Day? Bill Murray, by the way. Great scene with Ned Beatty, the life insurance salesman, by the way, who's very pushy about life insurance for those of you. So don't be that guy. But it's the Groundhog Day. It's like the same thing, and look, I'm no different. I have the same struggles anyone else does. It's so easy to slip into your routine. And I've got some quotes here to unpack kind of the power of habit, because the cool thing is that once you start to build a really good habit, it becomes part of you and it's not so hard, right? Like Kayla going to the gym for 3.5 hours, again, to most of us, and me included, I ran 4 miles yesterday afternoon. Like I exercise and all that, but wow, 3.5 hours in the gym, that's a lot. Point is, once you start down the road of some of these habits, it sort of becomes a part of you and it's not so hard, right? It's like that first day at the gym, super hard. That first week at the gym, super hard. By week 2, week 3, month 2, month 3, year 2, year 3, decade 2, decade 3, it's just part of you. One of my disciplines is most mornings I get up and I start with prayer, devotions, and reading the Bible, right? I don't do it every day, but I do it most days. And I've been doing that more or less for 10 years. It's not a struggle for me. It's not like, oh man, I've got to get it. It's just sort of part of who I am. It's just like you get up and you brush your teeth. Hopefully, Tony, if you didn't brush your teeth, I'm just kidding. So it's just a part of you. That's an easy habit that hopefully everyone's practicing, right? You don't really think about brushing your teeth. You're not like, oh man, I got to brush my teeth again, So again, kind of understanding the necessity of forming the good habits. Learn where habits begin and use them constructively, kind of is his point 2. Develop your own personalized program of success. We've talked about this before. It's super important to say, what's Tom Wheeler's definition of success? What's JJ's definition of success? What's Bill's definition of success? But they're probably all going to be different. There may be some common themes, but they're probably all going to be slightly different. Your stage of life, your age of life, where you're at, what you need, etc. Spending some time thinking about that, right? And then implementing the 7 steps of formation of a new habit. And we're going to unpack that a little bit more, a little bit further on here. But again, high level, this is saying sort of, how do I form better habits? 1, understand that they're important. Just acknowledge it, right? Like, oh man, this is something I should at least be thinking about. Learn where habits begin, use them constructively, develop your own definition of success, and then implement the steps on forming a new habit. Okay. And then he unpacks here, he's got and says, here are the quote unquote $1 million habits, right? So he's unpacking this, lots of research, personal experience, et cetera, and saying, here are some things that, are habits of people that are extremely successful and that are millionaires, right? So he says, successful people achieve their dreams as a direct result of productive and worthwhile habits they consciously form. To reach the same destination in terms of your own life, follow the same principle. Okay. Fill your life with good habits and everything else will follow, right? So number one, he talks about goals. Again, you guys have been with me for any length of time. You know how much we talk about goals. We do smart goal planning. We talk about goals. We put that out there. And again, some of you at different levels or people that may hear this on demand, you know, you kind of glaze over, you shake your eyes, you know, you're trying to just like this, you know, just, I'm trying to just make it through the day and sell a couple more policies, Doug. Like, why are we talking about these things? Right. I've been there, right? I heard this stuff in my early 20s from some mentors of mine. I was like, yeah, I got my degree. I don't need to do all that. It's, you know, kind of whatever. Right. And then something clicked. And then I became, you know, I really kind of geeked out on this stuff. And I can tell you this, I can draw a straight line in my life from my, not only any level of success that I've had in business, in my career, and then also personally as a family, you know, and all that really tied into these goals, right? You know, so again, I would encourage you guys, if anything else, like I always try and give you the flashing takeaway, right? Like if you don't get anything else out of today's meeting, one takeaway is all of you have goals because we require you to write them down. When's the last time you've reviewed and looked at your goals, right? By the way, we're officially in the second quarter. Q1's done. Quarter of the year done, right? And I see Amy going, wow, exactly. Quarter one's done. When's the last time you looked at your goals, right? You know, I've shared this with you guys. I have my goals printed in my drawer in my bathroom that every morning when I brush my teeth or at night when I brush my teeth, I can very quickly look at my goals. Oh, that's right. I want to do a date night every night with my wife. Oh, that's right. I want to write 300,000 in new business premium. Oh, that's right. I want to do an acquisition of 500,000. And the more you do that, the crazy thing about how God's created our mind to work, that sort of all starts bearing in your subconscious and your mind starts going after it like a heat-seeking missile. So again, we just encourage you guys, get your eyes on your goals. So, and even on that note, just hitting the pause. How many have looked at their goals recently before I just encouraged you guys on this? Anybody? Tony Mella. Okay, good. Okay. You know, and Bill and Tom, I'll be happy to send you guys anything at the end, our SMART goal planning sheet. If you don't have goals for the year or SMART goals, I'd encourage it, right? That could be a great action item takeaway of that. And if you do, where you at on that, how are you doing it? And then having the accountability around it, right? That's what we're trying to do with some of this here. So he then goes on, $1 Million Habits. Yeah. Good.
Please do send it to me. I'd like to.
Yeah,
see
I
it.
definitely will. I've got it. We've created it as a Google sheet, so it's online. It's pretty easy to kind of go through. And again, if I can help in any way, I'm happy to. So he says, point 2, have the discipline to save money and get rich slowly, right? Again, I'm not going Dave Ramsey here. This isn't a personal finance class, but there's no doubt that depending on what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go, money's important. You know, Zig Ziglar's got a great line. He says, money's a lot like oxygen. When you need it, you really need it, right? So thinking about that, where are you at in that area? And again, if there are areas and you're like, man, I struggle in that. I've been there. And again, I'm not here to say I've got it all figured out. I don't. I've got lots of challenges in lots of areas. I've got a wife and 3 kids and 2 businesses. So I've got lots of areas to always continue to need to grow. But you know, if it's an area that you're like, yeah, not quite where I want to be, like to be a little further, what habits can you start today? You know, there's a plethora of information out there, you know, YouTube, online, Google, you know, books, Audible, on and on and on and on, right? Even if it's like, hey, I need to start saving money and I don't, and I'm going to save $5 a week. And I will tell you this, when I first started and I started scratch at 26, went into $75,000 in debt, left a fairly good job where I was making almost that much. To having lots of bills, having a business, having all my personal bills, super hard, right? But early on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to set up an automated savings of $5. I mean, it might have been at that time a month, you know, and there's a great Bible verse that says like, you know, don't despise the days of small beginnings, right? So it's like, depending on where you're at, then that number is certainly variable. It could be anything, but it's like, hey, what could I do to start that automatically, right? He talks about learning to excel at your career choice. Okay. And we're all in the insurance space. And obviously this is where your career is at right now. It's like, what are you doing to excel at that? What are you doing to learn more, to grow more, to be a value to your team, to be a value to your clients, to be a value to your centers of influence, to be value to your community that looks at you in this regard, right? And again, if you think about what we get paid to do, we are white collar knowledge workers, right? We sell an intangible a piece of paper. Frankly, people don't even get the piece of paper anymore, right? Most times it comes via email. You follow me? We just closed almost $900,000 worth of business for, a pretty large commercial client. And it's like, they don't walk away with the shiny car. But what came behind that 900,000 is hopefully the peace of mind, the protection, all on and on. So again, it's like, what things are you doing to growing? Are you, looking at CIC or CLCS or CISR, all these great acronyms. And I know Tony's just recently, kudos to Tony, just recently has gone through some of those classes and trainings, right? And some of you may be like, yeah, it's not me. I'm not going to have the wraparound business card. Okay. Right. With all the initials behind my name, right? You see those people like you wear, and I heard this before, a mentor of mine, great guy. He said, the acronym that matters is VLBA. Do you know what VLBA stands for? Very large bank account. Great guy, by the way, Christian man, very humble, but that was Mark, right? So you may be like, yeah, I'm not going to do all the CIC and all that, but okay, then what are you doing to get better as a salesperson, right? Like, hopefully this is adding value to you. And these are things you can just show up to and hopefully walk away with something, but what are you doing on your own? Like, take Doug out of it. What are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you filling your mind with to say, hey, how am I getting better? Right? That's a way to excel in your career. Become a successful business builder. Apply key principles of marketing. Again, those are areas we're going to dig into a little more in a bit. Increase your personal effectiveness and productivity. This is an area we can all always improve on. And again, I would highlight this because we are all, frankly, and I don't use the word lately, we are slaves to our email, all of us, right? We talk about this all the time. I shouldn't say all the time, but from time to time. Research and studies suggest you should check your email 3 times a day, morning, noon, and afternoon. And we all get guilty. There's a lot of type A people on this call, a lot of type A people in this industry. And, again, I've also shared the analogy, speed builds trust. You get back to someone quickly, that builds trust, right? So I get that. The door swings both ways, but I would also say there's a lot of us that spend way too much time in email, right? And we've also talked about this and said, hey, well, Doug, that's great, but I need to work out of my email to send proposals that are going to turn into money. That's going to turn into my very large bank account. Fair point. When you're doing that, turn your Outlook to offline. And if Tom and Bill, you're not familiar with that, you can get with me later, but there's a setting in your Outlook where you can say, I want to work offline. And what does that mean? That means you can still be in your email. You can still be typing away. You can still be dialing in proposals, but you're not going to be getting any new emails in and no emails will be going out. Right. And then at a certain point, you can say, okay, I'm going to turn my email back online and all your emails will go out and you'll get the flood of new emails in. Right. And some of you are probably checking email right now as I'm speaking to you, like, JJ and Tony. So Bill, yeah. So, and again, this is like, do as I say, not as I do. I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I'm on it all the time. There's a lot there, but here's the point, right? Like the point, what's the point, Doug? Well, he's saying, hey, $1 Million Habits, work on your personal effectiveness and productivity. Many of us would say, I'm being very effective and productive because I'm on my email. I'm on top of my email. I got my stuff covered. I may be getting a new lead in, Doug. You may be, okay. But I would argue that more of your time's wasted than you think. There's more back and forth that's needed. There's, on and on, all the CCs and the blind carbon, there's courses on this stuff, right? Don't take it from me. Look it up yourself. We're just to encourage you. That's one area that we could say is sort of a modern insurance agent / knowledge worker in 2022. How can I increase my productivity and effectiveness? Do I really need to be on my email all the time? What would it look like if I said, I'm only going to check it 3 times a day and I'm going to do that for a month and then see what your results are like, or a week, you pick, right? Learn how to build relationships and get along with others, right? This is like back in school. This is what I'm trying to teach my toddlers, right? But there's something to be said about that. People want to do business with people they what? Know, like, and trust. Don't be a jerk. That's the other takeaway. Like, that's an easy one. Don't be a jerk, okay? Don't neglect to take care of your health and well-being. We kind of talked in the beginning, Kayla, 3.5 hours in the gym. It's like, and again, I'm not going to go around and ask, but I would hope that all of us on the call could point to at least one thing that you're doing that's positive for your health. That could be like, I drink water every day. I take a multivitamin. Can you point to anything that you're doing right now that's saying, this is good for my health? We'd all get better. Kayla could work at the gym 5.5 hours a day. Okay. Maybe 4.5 hours, 5.5 slide. You got got to do some email. You got to do some proposals, Calvin. But no, but so we're all on a journey, right? Different stages, levels, but what can you say I'm doing for my health, right? And then building your character and leadership skills. Frankly, I know he's got that the last. I would almost put that the first. I think that ties in so critically with sort of who you are and what you're becoming, right? And where are you focusing on that? So those are your $1 million habits. So we kind of unpack here some great quotes that I just wanted to add in here from the book. I thought this was really good. And again, hopefully some of these stick with you at some level. It says the fact is that good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. Bad habits, on the other hand, are easy to form, but hard to live with. Think about that for a second. Nobody starts to say, I want to be a smoker. Nobody. I don't smoke cigarettes. I mean, I had maybe a handful in college or whatever. I've smoked. I like cigars every once in a while, but I really don't believe anybody's out there is like, I really want to be a cigarette smoker. I really want to do that. Man, that's just so, that just is so appealing. Nobody, right? I mean, anyone who's ever known people who are really, really addicted to cigarettes, it's a really, really tough thing. I think that's a great line thinking about that. The bad habits are easy to form, but they're hard to live with, right? It says in either case, you develop either good or bad habits as a result of your choices, decisions, and behaviors. I really like this one too by Horace Mann, famous educator. Well, by the way, Horace Mann Insurance, there's like an insurance whole thing for educators on there. He says, habits are like a cable. We weave a strand of it every day and soon it cannot be broken. Okay, think about that. So the more you're doing that habit, and I've heard it said before, like, the first day you do the habit, it's sort of like a spider web. Pretty darn easy to cut through the spider web, right? The more you do it, the more you do it, the more you do it. Now you're like a steel cable, right? I mean, look at Bill's little icon behind it. You've got the Golden Gate Bridge behind it, right? Those are steel cables holding up the top to the bottom. Those suckers are pretty darn strong, right? Those are hard to break. It says we first make our habits and then our habits make us. Habit, my friend, is a practice long pursued that then becomes the man himself. Okay. And then the last one here, he says, you are where you are and what you are because of yourself. Everything you are today or ever will be in the future is up to you. Your life today is the sum total of your choices, decisions, and actions to this point. You can create your own future by changing your behaviors. You can make new choices and decisions that are more consistent with the person you want to be and the things that you want to accomplish with your life. That's the silver lining takeaway. No matter where you're at, no matter what you've done, you can always start today and begin anew. So I want to go around just real quick and try to make this actionable. What's one new habit that you want to work on? Just give me one. I'm going to start, Craig. I'm going to give you a second chance here, buddy. Tell me one good thing. You just give me one habit. And I would encourage you guys, I'm not tracking this on my end, but I'd encourage you guys write it down for yourself. But give me just one habit that you'd like to say, I'd like to work on that.
So just in general or insurance?
Just in general. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting back working out. I let it go for a good 2 months and just went to, you know what.
Awesome. Okay. Tony, what do you got? You there, Tony?
Get some sleep.
I am. Yeah. I've been doing I've been trying to not work on the weekends. The last month has forcibly made me do that, which is great. But inevitably there are still some instances of touching something relating to work, a phone, an email, sitting at the computer for a minute, doing something for one of my top referral people. The weekends are the weekends. And I think most people know that my style of working is unorthodox, to put it politely, but definitely trying to keep Saturday and Sunday to myself.
Okay. So let's do this. And again, making it practical. So here's the other thing, and this ties into somewhat of the goals. So we're saying, goal habit, probably somewhat interchangeable. So let's dive into that and say, Craig, okay, so you want to get back to working out. What's the next immediate step for you with that? What does that look like?
You talking to me? Sorry, you broke up on that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
again, trying to dive a little deeper and say, okay, we've got the goal or the habit we want, but then what's the next immediate step?
I mean, it's just putting on my calendar and not hitting that snooze button, or just not pushing it aside, making it a priority.
Well put.
You know,
Love
if it's not a priority, it'll just fall by the wayside like everything else.
Love it. So I would say, you know, if I'm you, I'm writing down goal, working out, next immediate step, you know, calendar it, don't snooze, right? Keep it simple. Yep. Tony, what would you say for you? And again, listen, this is a real thing, by the way, because we're all in this day and age where it's never been easier or harder, depending on how you look at it, to work all the time everywhere. This whole remote, I can work from home in my pajamas. Okay, cool in a way. Hopefully at least wearing pajamas, right? Is you can work all the time. Where's the off button, right? It's like the good old days. It was like, you know, the 9 to 5, right? And it was like, well, I'm done at 5. And literally, if we go back in time, frankly, and again, Bill's been in the industry a good amount of years, you know, there wasn't the cell phone, there wasn't the email, you weren't getting faxes at home. So even for the super duper type A guy, unless he literally wanted to stay at the office every night till, you know, 9 o'clock, once he went home or she went home, it was physically impossible to work. Now, that's no longer the case. Those worlds are so blurred, right? And again, there's lots of research, there's lots of stuff on this all over the place. But so again, drilling down, Tony, what would you say next immediate action step would be? To say, okay, I probably work too much. My microphone just came out here. I probably work too much. And how do I stop? How do I make my weekends more restful? What does that look like? And some of that got cut off, but because my microphone cord came out, it's like, what's the next immediate step, Tony, on that?
Turning Outlook on my cell phone on Do Not Disturb from 5 o'clock Friday afternoon until 8 o'clock Monday morning.
There you go. Listen, you know, I've shared this with several of you guys. You know, I at any one time, I'm reading like 4 to 6 books, constantly reading, listening. One of the best books I've read in the last 10 years is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Phenomenal book, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And one of the things I chose to do after that is I got rid of my iPhone. I went back to an Android. I do not have email on my Android. I have no notifications on my Android, and I cannot get on the internet. I can only call, text, and use a very few apps. I made that as a purposeful choice. Now I have an iPad. I still am mobile, if you will, but I was doing things to sort of wall myself off so that it would be harder to have the quick and easy access to email. Right. And for me, it's not like there's some people, it's like, oh man, I gamble, or, pornography, or, you know, there's a lot of bad stuff online, but there's a lot of people, it's not that. It's like, oh, I'm on the news. I'm reading news. I'm reading sports. I'm doing email. I'm doing whatever. So, you know, what if those are areas you're like, man, yeah, you know, I spent a little too much time. It's like, how do you do that? And, you know, it's like, well, dude, no way I'm getting rid of my iPhone, Doug. Forget it. And I didn't know how it would go. I've been almost 8 months. It's been great. But maybe you turn your notifications off. You know, maybe you, like Tony said, you know, you turn your email off on the weekend. You know, maybe Tony, you literally have to say, I'm going to delete the app Friday night. So it's not even like, oh, I can turn it off. I can turn it on. But
well, the funny thing about just how things have changed, though, here's the laugh. I bought a new selection of like house wardrobe shorts. They don't have pockets in them. So the phone sits on the desk, the nightstand, something, running around doing everything. I'll look at it. So there's that positive for well, it's much easier just to set it down and not bother with it. And basically anybody who does need to get a hold of me will either get a hold of me or they will come knocking on my door, come walking through my door because they have a kid.
You know what? And if it's a real emergency, someone's calling 911, right? So, you know, this is a real thing. I care very much about you all. I care about work-life balance. I think you guys are all extremely hardworking. And again, we're shooting for the fairway here. You're not going to get to where you want to be and be really successful in anything if you don't work hard, right? The flip side of that is if I work too hard and I burn myself out, I've been there, by the way. I've gone through burnout, like I burned and crashed in my late 20s. Not good. Okay. Been there. Real thing. Okay. That's why I travel. That's why I take trips. That's why I do date nights with my wife. That's why and yes, when I do those things, I still have my iPad, my email, and I've closed deals from the tops of ski lifts to hospital beds, you know. But my point is, like, being intentional with trying to strive that work-life balance. I will never get upset if you, frankly, if anything, some of you need to take more time, right? I can't force you to do it, but you know, finding those ways to strive that balance, I think that's a really good thing. So let's keep going around here. JJ, what about you? What's one habit you want to work on and next immediate step? What do you got? He may be on an interview with BNI, I think he said. So Kayla, how about you? What's next one habit and what next immediate step?
If you know my situation, it's loving myself first and putting myself first. So
Okay.
I've just been catering to everyone else for a long time. So next step is just putting time aside from everything. And
love it. That's awesome. And I know you, and you definitely have that heart. And I would even just say, like, trying to look practical and thinking of resources. You know, part of the merger, guys, I said, for the merger to be a good deal for me, it had to be a good deal for you guys. And there's a list of things that you can say, from benefits to this, to that. Anyway, where I'm going with it, there's a guy named Anthony DiPolito, Kayla, who's the chief wellness officer at Liberty. Super cool guy, not your typical like counselor, if you will, but just super cool guy. And he's available, right? So like, even if you just were saying, hey, yeah, I don't want to necessarily go to a counselor or go to this or go to that, like, just a really good guy that you may want to say. And again, I'd be happy to get you his info. I'm sure he'd be happy to have a Zoom with you or whatever, and just kind of say, hey, maybe here's some things that can help, or, you know, whatever. Like,
yeah.
Again, part of our challenge, I think, at times, guys, is there's not a lack of resources out there, both internally and externally, but it's being definitive and saying, I'm going to take that next step, right? So something you know you need to do, but I'm going to take it. So I'd encourage you on that, Kayla. Amy, how about you? Habit and next immediate step, but she's writing it in chat. Okay, I love it. All right, so this is good. Technology today. All right, so let's see. So Amy said, monitoring my budget daily and planning my day on paper, all-in-one planner. Love it. Like, go to the head of the class. Great. And then next step is implement this habit just like the gym, trying to set up and get started. I think that's great. You know, that's really, really good. You know, and again, Brian Tracy's he's one of my favorite guys, like one of my favorite thought leaders out there. He's got a statement that says something like, every 10 minutes you plan on paper, you save yourself at least an hour in the real world. Think about that, right? Like, most of us just start our day and go. Again, me included at times. I'm the poster child for this, right? At times, right? I swing back and forth where sometimes I'm really good and sometimes not as much. But every 10 minutes you plan on paper, save yourself almost an hour in the real world. Think about that, right? Bill, how about you? Anything you'd want to share? Habit you'd want to work on? Immediate next step?
Sure, I'll give you two if I
Okay.
can. I'm coming up on my 37th anniversary. You tend to fall into
Congratulations, man.
Well, thank you, but I want to do something kind of intentionally for my wife every day.
Awesome.
Just got to think about it, right? And do
Love
something,
it.
whether it's cleaning something around the house for her because she works hard, or taking care of our puppies, or just, you know, telling her I love her, whatever.
Love it.
Right. I think the other one is a little bit more for me. I've got a couple of golf tournaments coming up, and my game is clearly not what it should be.
Okay.
So every afternoon, for a little bit more exercise, I want to get out and either hit a bucket of balls or practice some.
Nice.
And just get away from the computer and work for 45 minutes or an hour.
Love it. I think that's great. And so are there any like immediate next steps on either of those that you would think?
Well, the first one is get home to be around my wife and relieve her of puppy duty.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's just making a conscious decision to do it. The second is I belong to a club where I have what is called a medicus club, and I can get out with the puppies and just swing and get the club going.
Love it. That's awesome, man. Good stuff. I also just threw in the chat, it's a link to Amazon. There's a book called The 40-Day Love Dare, which, if you've never heard of it, is a really cool book. And it specifically gives you like an idea to challenge yourself with your spouse that you can do something each day intentional to show them you love them. Right. So could be a cool book to check out if you're looking for, hey, I've got this idea, but now like, how, what do I do to put it in action? That could be a cool one to check out. So the other thing, and again, I'd highlight, and I love what Bill said of like, going and hitting balls. Yesterday at like 3:30, I went for a run. I ran for an hour almost. I was on the phone during the time. I was having meetings, etc. But I will tell you, there's no doubt the rest of my day was way more productive. So for those of you that are like, there's no way, I am way too busy to go to the gym in the middle of the day. I'm way too busy to go hit a bucket of balls. I'm way too busy to walk around the block. You fill in the blank. Again, all the research, all the smarty pants McGee that are way smarter than I am will tell you, absolutely not. You're better off taking the break, doing something that you enjoy that's going to energize you, and coming back. Right. And again, you're in a day and age and you're hearing it from your boss, leader, managing principal, whatever. It's like, do it. I'm not telling you like, hey, if you send in the middle of the day, I want to go for a run, I want to go to the gym, I want to do whatever, assuming it's something, somewhat good for you. If you're like, hey, I'm going to go to the bar and drink for a couple hours. Yeah. Unless it's Friday night, we may need to talk a little bit, but you get the idea, right? It's like, those are positive things. Steve Jobs, former like iPhone, Apple guy and all that, he was famous for having walking meetings. If you study Steve Jobs, that was one of the things he was famous for. Again, very type A, very like ADD, didn't sit still. He's not a guy who was chained to a desk. A lot of his great ideas, and I think they even said that perhaps the iPhone occurred on one of these walking meetings. He was just out walking, maybe with a couple other executives or whatever, like, hey, let's go for a walk. Right. And I know some of you after the step contest we had have been walking here, but would really encourage that. So I'll share for me, by the way, like, for me, it's getting up earlier, right? So I go from times where I'm up early to times I'm not, right? So I would say for me, focusing on getting up earlier, two immediate next steps would be going to bed earlier, which sometimes is hard with 3 kids under 8. It's like the energy in my household after 8:30 at night is insanity, right? But would be trying to go to bed earlier. And then, yes, not hitting the snooze. It can be very easy to hit the snooze. So Tom, how about you? Habit you'd want to work on, next immediate step?
I think that after listening to Kayla with the 3.5 hours, I definitely need to do something more, move more. And so setting aside time for that, planning for that.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you what, on that note, and Tom, I know you're new kind of to the team, but we did something called the step challenge that we started earlier this year. And I bought everybody these little bands. I've got an extra one if you want. I can mail it to you. You can stop by the office. And this is just a little, you see these things. It's like a fit band where you can kind of put it on you and you say, hey, how many steps am I doing today? And sort of challenge yourself. Okay. I do 2,000 steps a day. Can I make it 3,000? So it's a little reminder on that. Right. So if you're interested in that, let me know. All right. So kind of digging deeper. Again, we're talking about these habits. Now he kind of unpacks a little bit more, right? We kind of gave the big picture overview. We'll wrap up here, guys, in like the next 10 minutes, but on terms of how to form the better habits, right? So we kind of talked about habits are important. I need to kind of put it out there. I've got some immediate next steps. You've all identified, me included. Hey, here's some habits I'd like to form. Okay. Or some things I'd like to do. But now he kind of dives a little deeper and he says, okay, well, how does this work? Right. So he says, learn where habits begin and use that knowledge constructively. You always end up becoming what you think about the most of the time. Therefore, the key to developing the habits of success is to control what you think about. By doing this, you dictate what habits you will develop, thereby shaping your own future. Again, I cannot stress enough, those of you who are like, whoa, we're getting a little too deep here, Doug. This is all directly related to your mindset and how you're going to be a better insurance professional and a better sales professional. If you've got a crappy mindset and your mind's in a really bad place, good luck trying to be a salesperson. Good luck trying to recover from that hard no. That deal you thought you were going to get that you didn't. That client that you've had for years that all of a sudden called you or said, yeah, I'm going somewhere else, right? That's why this mindset piece is so critical, right? So he talks about several laws, if you will. So these are just laws of the universe, right? And these are things that's kind of like, I can shake my fist at the rain like the angry old man and say, I don't like gravity. Gravity's bogus. But guess what? Every time I jump up, what happens? I come back down. It's a law. I can sit there and fight it and say, I don't like it, but nothing changes it. It's true. I tell my kids this all the time. Just because you say it doesn't mean it's true. Truth is truth, right? So anyway, so these are some laws that kind of govern this, which kind of form, how it's going to help you build these habits. So he talks about cause and effect. Every cause, there's an effect, right? We know this in science. It's like science, 7th grade science, right? So every cause, there's effect. He says, therefore, emulate what other successful people do, and eventually you achieve the same results, right? Great principle, by the way. If you like to read or listen to things and you're struggling, or you're like, man, I don't know where to go or what to start, try and pick a biography of someone you're interested in, right? It could be Abraham Lincoln. It could be, Sally Ford. It could be anybody. There's so many biographies out there. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. Could be Will Smith, by the way. Will Smith's book, just, how'd you like to be Will Smith's Hollywood producer or Hollywood agent today? Anyway, so that kill like that. But my point is, biographies can be great things because it kind of helps you hear what other people have done, right? Like I'm listening to a biography right now on Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who was at one time was the wealthiest guy in the world. It's like, and he geeked out on this stuff, frankly. I mean, he was a thought leader on this. And again, you guys know I like Napoleon Hill. You've all heard me talk about Napoleon Hill and see me send out Napoleon Hill. Well, guess who one of Napoleon Hill's mentors were? Andrew Carnegie, right? Think and Grow Rich, the famous book, was an interview by Napoleon Hill. And a lot of the people he talked to, one of the most influential ones he talked to was Andrew Carnegie, right? So anyway, this idea of cause and effect. How am I emulating other successful people? That could be people you see here even. Say, listen, I want to crush it like Tony. I want to crush it like Kayla. I want to pick somebody who's like, maybe take them to lunch. Grab coffee with them and just pick their brain a little bit. Tell me about your day. What do you do? Tell me about how do you prospect? What sorts of questions do you ask clients? How do you close, right? All those things. I guarantee you, if you actually took the time to do it, people would be more than happy to do that. Again, if anyone's interested, I'd certainly be happy to spend time, on any of that as well. Law of control says you always feel happy to the degree in which you are in control in your life. And conversely, you will feel unhappy to the degree which you feel you don't have control in your life. Right. And in the book, he unpacks a little bit more of internal and external loci. Loci is like your areas of control. And again, I would argue very much that people that are in the insurance business, people that are in sales, people that are trying to do things like we're trying to do inherently are probably type A, right? Like it's kind of hard to be successful in a commission-based position and be really, really, really lazy. You're not going to last very long, right? So inherently kind of a little bit of type A, and type A involves an area of control, right? It's kind of like, yeah, I'm the guy, I want to do it. I'm the girl. Let me, put me in, coach, right? So thinking about that, where are those areas of your life that you're feeling like I'm not in control? And again, not Dr. Filling it here, but those are things that are going to sort of subconsciously hurt your ability to really crush it in sales. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm struggling in X. Again, not getting into X right now. We all have our X's. I would encourage you to say, what's one thing I could do with whatever that is that I may not feel is in control to work on, to improve. Law of belief. He says, whatever you believe with heartfelt conviction becomes your reality. If you can develop your mind to the point at which you believe you can do anything and you set your mind to, you'll find a way to make the belief become a reality, right? Again, there's a lot here, guys. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, great book. Very, Holocaust survivor, all about joy in the midst of, chaos and tragedy, and very much thought leadership and very much sales leadership. There's a verse in the Old Testament that says, as a man thinketh, so he will become, right? All these things really dialing in. And I would just encourage you, we kind of talked in the beginning, is can you catch yourself when you really get off in a really negative tangent, right? Part of it is being able to quickly respond to that. Oh man, my thoughts are way off. How do I bring it back? For me, and everybody's different. You got to pick what's good for you. For me, there's a handful of Bible verses that I can go to like that. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not, blah, blah, blah. Right. And again, I'm not sitting here saying, go start memorizing Bible verses, but what does that look like for you? What sort of saying or line or word picture, or what is it that you can kind of snap yourself out of it and get back to hopefully a more positive, mindset and frame? It says law of expectations. Whatever you expect with confidence will become your own self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why it's so important to write these goals down, by the way, right? Don't just come up with the goal, write it down. And then don't just have the goal and write it down, but look at the goal and read it, because it kind of becomes part of you, right? And then talks about the law of attraction. Again, lots of books written on this, right? I mean, was it 5-10 years ago? There was a book, The Secret, was very, very popular, very famous. frankly, the secret was just repackaging a lot of these concepts that have been around for years and putting it, to the new day and age, to the new generation, if you will, right? So you invariably attract in your life whatever people, ideas, and circumstances harmonize with your most dominant thoughts. Therefore, if you think positively, you're going to attract the people and circumstances which you most benefit to, right? And I also love, real quick, Tony Robbins, who is, motivational thought leader and all that. He's real honest. He's like, you can't just sit there and go, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. Do you follow me? In your life or whatever that looks like. But, you can say, I see the weeds, I'm going to pull them out, right? So, but thinking about that. So some of these concepts, and in the law of correspondence, he says, your outer world will always be a mirror reflection of your inner thoughts, right? So it's like some of the most important things that you can ever do to develop who you are going to become is who you are when no one else is around, when no one else sees you. Not your wife, not your spouse, not your dog, not your cat, not anyone, just you, right? Those are some of the areas where you really want to cultivate and say, how am I growing into someone that I want to be? Okay. He then talks about, again, some of that's more of the, kind of big picture play. And then he talks about, here's 7 steps to develop the habit, right? And we'll wrap up, guys, here with this in a minute. So here's 7 steps to develop the habit, right? He says, make a decision that you will act in a new and specific way 100% of the time. So if the first part is we talked about from the very beginning, it's like, make the decision, put the stake in the ground, draw the line in the sand, say, I'm going to X, right? And then here's the other thing, and I'm big on this, right? Because I kind of get some of this stuff. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. You guys know what's going on. I share, the dream big and make it happen. I talk about, like, put it out there, right? Like, I just finished a book after the merger. I just wrote a book. I think I'm going to call it, You Only Get One Shot, Your Guide to Selling or Merging Your Agency. Okay. And I'm working on editing it right now and getting it published in the next few months. And I'm really going to use it to help other agencies, other agency owners who are maybe thinking about this and don't have a lot of resources. And then guess what? It's also going to be hopefully a lead generation for me for more partnerships. Why am I telling you this right now? Because the more I put it out there and talk about it, the more likely it is to happen. Most people don't want to do that. They don't want to share their dreams, their goals, their ambitions, all of that stuff, because it's like, oh my gosh, well, what if I put it out there and it doesn't happen, Doug? Well, guess what? What if you don't put it out there and it doesn't happen? What if you do put it out there and it does happen? Right? So I would encourage you. And again, I'm not saying you have to do this with me. I'm not saying you have to do this with this team, but do it with someone, your spouse, your mom, your friend, your pastor, you name, you fill in the blank, right? I think, again, if you don't get anything else out of it, I think that is a very, very critical part. And again, it's scary. Some people are like, that's not me. I'm not the extrovert. I'm not the whatever. I'm kind of more the, the quiet one. Okay, well, guess what? Quiet people can still have dreams and put those out too, right? It says, never allow an exception to your new habit during the formative stages, but force yourself to do what you say until it becomes automatic. So again, I think part of this, and I would maybe say, like, you may have some stumbles or some false starts. Kind of keep going until it really becomes a part of you. Tell others what you're doing. We just talked about this, right? So you'll know they'll be watching you, and that's going to encourage your follow through, right? Visualize yourself acting in a specific way. So critical. We've talked about this before. It's like, think about literally what actors do, right? Like, they practice and practice and practice and practice, and then they go on film. Professional athletes practice and practice and practice, and then go on the field, right? And a lot of them will visualize themselves having a high degree of success. Like, you have an important meeting coming up. You've got a meeting with a client or a prospect. Are you spending any time mentally saying, this is going to go well, and here's why? Here's what I'm going to say, and here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to be prepared. You do that versus you oversleep, show up late, your shirt's wrinkled, and you have no notebook, you're probably going to have a different result, right? In terms of some of those extremes. Talks about positive affirmations. And again, some of this stuff is like Stuart Smalley, Saturday Night Live. Anybody remember Stuart Smalley, Saturday Night Live? Yeah. Anybody, Tom's giving me a little smirk there. But so, again, I know some of this stuff may be like, geez, it's kind of, I don't know if for me. Try it. I would just say, like, don't fight it. Just try it. Write some things down. Put some things that you can go to, right? Resolve to persist and then reward yourself. I think this is really cool too. It's like, what's the reward? Say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds and I want to do that in 3 months. And then after that, I'm going to go reward myself and, go on an overnight getaway just for a night. I mean, you can create sort of all sorts of little games and challenges and rewards for yourself, right? Because most people find it best to work on developing one new habit at a time rather than developing several. And so that's what I would also encourage. Because you're like, oh man, I want to, I want to save more money. I want to lose weight. I want to go to the gym. I want to, write 500,000 in new business. I want to, you can't sift the ocean all in one swoop. So I would say it's like pick one or two things that you could really start with and dig into, right? And then this was the last one was the, the $8 million habits. We kind of already went through that a little bit. I want to just highlight real quick, and then we'll wrap up here, because part of the $1 million habits was marketing. Okay. Very much driven to sales, some success principles for marketing, specialization. What are you specializing in? All of us right now. Bill's a great example. Like Bill's lane is, I'm the SVP of executive apparels. Like, don't talk to me about property. Don't talk to me about benefits. Don't talk to me about general liability. Don't even talk to me about medical malpractice. Like, here's my lane, but I know it really well, and I'm going to go deep in it. What's your lane? Right. And again, some of us can struggle at times because we're very, we can do anything and everything. We've got 100 carriers, we do all lines. But it's like, you really want to grow this year, like be like, hey, I'm going to get great at X. I'm going to know this like the back of my hand, and I'm going to really go after it like a heat-seeking missile, right? Niches to riches. That's an easy one to think about. What does that look like for you? Differentiation. How are you standing out? Like we've got our YSIS. I think we've got a great value proposition. Can you spit that out? Do you know that? Can you talk to people comfortably and say, here's why we're different. Here's what we're doing. Here's why you're different. Segmentation talks about finding your most profitable customers. This is very important. Like, don't waste time on the $600 condo policy who wants to call you 10 times to ask you silly questions. You're probably better off saying, you know what, we may not just be the best fit for you, and move on. That's okay. You don't have to help everyone. You can't. And then concentration, focus on what you do best, right? And then so he digs a little bit deeper in it. And he talks about 7 Ps. He talks about product, price, promotion, place, packaging, positioning, and people in terms of habits specifically on marketing. Okay. And again, he kind of gets into prospecting. He talks about building rapport, and maybe this is where we'll end on. He talks about, the top salespeople, here are habits they have and do. And again, as I read this, I think a lot of you guys have it. This is like blocking and tackling. This is just encouraging and saying, hey, you're probably doing it, but keep doing it. And if you're not, or if you're like, ooh, I could do that better, think about that. So prospecting, the more time you spend with people who can buy, the greater chances are of your success. I'm a natural networker. I'm constantly networking. I've written my mailman, my UPS guy, you name it, right? Business can come from anywhere. I've shared that with you guys before. What are you doing for prospecting? That is probably one of the most important questions we can ever ask as salespeople. Tom, I know you're trying to get going or trying to get this sort of side of the house going. You need to be spending like every day, hours and hours a day at it, right? It's like trying to dig for water. You got to keep digging and digging and digging. And then, you start to hit the water, and the water starts to run, you start getting it, right? So critical. And I share this as well. Most people don't have a sales problem. They have a pipeline problem. It's not that they're not good salespeople. Most people are okay. They can talk to the client. They can answer the questions. They can ask for the sale. Most people don't have enough in their funnel. That's where they fail, right? And so all of us need to say, well, where's my funnel at? How am I doing? What do my prospects look like? And then what actions am I taking to fill that up? Establishing rapport, building relationships, talks about that. Identifying clients' needs. We have fact finders for everything. Making sure you're doing needs-based selling. You're not just pushing products on people. Presenting solutions, answering rejections, closing the sale, and then asking for sales and referrals. I think this is one where I think frankly all struggle because we're so busy. Again, flashing light takeaway. When's the last time you've asked for a referral? When's the last time that you've said, after I've written this client, I'm going to ask them for 3 names? Who else can I help that you work with that lives in your neighborhood, that's in your family? I'd love their names and phone number. I'll just give them a quick call, tell them I helped you out. I saved you money. I added you value. I did whatever. I'm fancy pants Tony and I look great, or what, I'm whatever it is, whatever your shtick is. It's like, what does that look like? Right. So, I mean, imagine that. And again, put this another way. This is where my mind goes. It's like, if we went back in time a year and we said, well, last year we wrote, I don't know, maybe 2,000 new clients, something like that. And every one of us, every time asked every client who said yes to you, give me like just one referral. I'd love just one other person that I could help. I'm trying to build my business through referrals. Love just one other person. What would that look like? Right. So, and again, you can't go back to that, but you can start now and move forward. So I think that's a really good one to kind of end on. So the last few things I'll just share in terms of things to help you guys, right? And then we'll wrap up. I know we're a few minutes over here. The done for you quoting. Can't stress this enough. Tom, I know you're new. Take advantage of this. You know, we've created a model. We have 6 full-time team members in India. We've got a very deep back-end support team. They work off of checklists and processes, and Leanne on our team has done a great job. And, you know, they've worked with us for 3 years. These guys are phenomenal. They're at some level the backbone of what we're doing. But what we've done is we've created a model and said, hey, we want to help you do quotes. I don't want you being bogged down running quotes. You get the deck page or you fill out the fact finder, you send it to quotes@getstrategicins.com. Our team will quote it for you. They'll run the home, they'll run the auto, they'll run the basic commercial. They'll do some of that legwork for you. They'll get it back to you. And yes, you may have to clean it up, pull an MVR, do that. But now you can go present and go to your client. There's no glory in running these quotes. Trust me, use it. I'm paying for it. I'm trying to pay to help you have an easier day so you can be more productive, right? Fact finders, you guys know where our fact finders are in our toolbox. Xywave and Mineral, this is more for commercial. Craig, Tony, you know, anyone else that's more interested in commercial. We now have through Liberty Xywave, which is like this very robust sort of commercial prospecting tool. Tom, I know I shared this with you a little bit. There's some other plays here for personal lines, even all sorts of resources, all sorts of white papers, all sorts of good stuff in there. Mineral is really good for HR benefits. So there's some resources that we have if you're interested in those areas. We've got AMS 360 coming. I'm going to be sending an email out. We're going to be switching to that in August. And we're going to have PL Radar pretty soon. PL Radar is for personal lines radar. That's part of AMS 360 to kind of demo that. We're also working on some dedicated marketing campaigns, some specifically dedicated marketing campaigns. So some of this is like, hey, I'm going to challenge you to say, hey, you know, tying all this together, you come and say, hey, I really want to grow more in this area. I want to do more of this type of business or this type of insurance. You let me know. We'll work with Kayla. We'll work with our marketing strategist, Maria, to say, hey, how can we build a campaign like just for you? I'm not going to do it for you, though. I'll be there to help you, coach you, encourage you. I'm not going to do it all. So you don't follow up with me. I'm not going to chase you down on it. But I'm saying if you're interested, you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds interesting. Love it. That's why I have Kayla. This is her full-time role now, is working on this, trying to generate business in-house for us. Then the last two are CL File At and PL File At. You're all lazy, all of you, especially me. No, we're all lazy, right? Where this is right, like you're busy. There's a lot going on. So we created these emails that our back office support. All you have to do is CC a client on. I do this all the time. You know, you're working with a client, you want to get something in the file, and you know you're too busy to suck it through into the management system. We'll just copy CL File At or PL File At. CL for commercial, PL for personal lines. And then our back office support will put that in the file for you. Something you're trying to tell the client, quote, follow up, whatever it may be. Right. So guys, I hope you have a great day. Go crush it. Go help some people, create some new habits. If I can help you in any way, let me know. Okay. See y'all.
Thanks, Doug.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Doug.